and also assess the parallel facilities along Gallows for any impacts. And as part of this evaluation, we are conducting a comprehensive study of multimodal transportation improvements along Gallows Road corridor from Tysons in north to Annandale in south. For the ease of analysis and outreach, the corridor was divided into 3 segments. Segment 1, also called the northern segment, is between Route 7 and I-66, as you can see in the color green here. Segment 2, middle segment, in blue, is between I-66 and I-495. And the southern segment is between I-495 and Little River Turnpike or Columbia Pike, as shown in red here. And the focus of today's meeting is segment 3, the southern segment. And as part of this study, we are also looking for possible options for a bicycle and pedestrian bridge across the Beltway for improved mobility connecting east and west sides of the interstate. And we are looking at 6 possible locations, and details are to follow. Here's an overview of the study process we are using to conduct this study and to give you an update on where we are within this process. We completed existing conditions analysis and presented the results during our last round of outreach. After receiving feedback, we've been working on the future conditions analysis, testing different improvement alternatives, with each alternative focusing on different modes of travel, including active transportation focused, transit alternative, and vehicle focused alternative. And we have results to share with you all today from the analysis of these 3 alternatives. And after receiving your feedback on the alternatives, we will have recommendations for a preferred concept for the entire corridor, addressing the different needs for each segment of the corridor. And we will then wrap up the study with the near-term and long-term improvements with the 3rd round of public outreach, possibly in spring of next year. Here's to give you an overview of the feedback received from the last round of outreach. Respondents predominantly like to see bicycle and pedestrian improvements along the corridor with new and improved bicycle lanes, crosswalks, pedestrian signals, sidewalks, shared use paths, along with safety improvements. Delving into some future conditions and the characteristics of the design alternatives. For vehicle-focused alternative 1, we are looking at design changes that influence driver behavior to improve safety, which could be achieved by visually narrowing the corridor, by reducing the lane widths and to reduce the speeds. For transit alternative 2, the goal is to improve reliability, increase frequency, and enhance connectivity. And some of the improvements to achieve this would include dedicated bus lane for bus rapid transit, that is BRT, with a transit signal priority along with bus boarding islands, and provide better bus stop amenities. The active transportation alternative will include high quality bicycle and pedestrian facilities, repurposing the available right of way. And the facilities in general will include wide sidewalks, high visibility crosswalks, refuge islands with buffered cycle track. Here's a recap of existing conditions and the characteristics of this part of the corridor. In general, the southern segment has mostly residential with some congestion, with high speeds, narrow sidewalks with gaps, missing crosswalks, no continuous protected bicycle facility, and more severe crash hotspots seen along this corridor, and poor transit service, low ridership, and missing bus stop amenities. Showing the typical cross-section here within this segment, the location is south of Aston Street, as it is today, with 2 lanes in each direction with substandard sidewalks. This is what we are proposing for the 3 alternatives for this segment. For vehicle-focused alternative, we are looking at 2 travel lanes in each direction, reducing the inside travel lane width to 10 feet to reduce the vehicle speeds. This will also include about 5 feet sidewalks and landscape panels to plant trees on both sides of the roadway. And for transit alternative, we are looking at 1 car lane in each direction and a dedicated bus lane with similar pedestrian facilities and landscape panels as alternative 1. And for the active transportation alternative 3, we are proposing the travel lane in each direction with shared turn lane and bi-directional bicycle facility on one side of the roadway, But south of Annandale and Gallows Road, where it splits, we are proposing cycle track on both sides of the roadway along Gallows and Annandale Road. For the transit-focused alternative, we are looking at a connection to Tyson's West Park Transit Station in the north and Franconia Springfield Metro Station in the south, with several stops along the corridor. And this is to show approximate locations for BRT, not just for certain segment, but for the entire corridor. We are proposing around 10 stops along the corridor. You can see more stations in the middle segment where density is the highest. We are looking at curb running BRT in the southern segment, and BRT would continue on Hummer Road in mixed traffic. And if transit alternative is selected as an element in the preferred concept, this could connect to the planned Route 7 BRT running from Tysons to West Falls Church. And the connection would occur near Tysons Mall at the proposed Fletcher Street station, with possible connection with Lincolnia south of Annandale. The transit alternative does show that BRT increases ridership by around 10%. And the corridor currently has connector routes 401 and 402, which are the highest ridership lines in the county. And the BRT could expand the service and offer a more reliable trip. As part of Active Transportation Alternative 3, we are also looking to test off-street cycle track to reduce conflicts and delays at signals. With that, Tim will continue to provide some alternative analysis results.
Thank you very much. So my name is Tim Kutz. I'm with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation Planning Section. Just a quick recap of what we're studying here. So we're looking at 3 different alternatives. This is a long-range study, so we're looking out 20 years plus. 3 different alternatives to sort of repurpose Gallows Road. So the first one is really vehicle focused. So we can see with the vehicle focused one, a little bit of reduction in congestion at a few intersections. We do widen some sidewalks where there's space available, but overall it doesn't substantially improve quality for pedestrians, certainly not for cyclists, as they're going to have to continue to ride in mixed traffic. And I'll get into safety as well in this presentation. There are fewer safety countermeasures, so safety improvements, in this alternative as opposed to the other 2. Alternative 2 is the transit-focused alternative. So we see benefits, obviously, to transit ridership. We do have pathways for pedestrians, but again, no dedicated facility for cyclists. They're still having to share the roadway. And because it's a transit-focused alternative, you're going to see increased ridership as well. And then finally, the active transportation alternative, again, is really focused on giving a dedicated facility for cyclists, widening the sidewalks and the buffers for pedestrians to really make it a more comfortable place to walk and bike. And with that, of course, is the trade-off. So we're taking away vehicle lanes. You do have the center turn lane in the middle, but that's obviously going to cause delay for vehicles beyond what we're seeing today and in the future. And so one of the metrics we looked at to assess pedestrians is pedestrian level of comfort. And so instead of just what we traditionally do, look at vehicle delay and how we can improve traffic for people who are driving, we looked at how comfortable it is for the average person to walk up and down a sidewalk or to cross a street. And so here you can see we have a scale of 1 to 4, 1 in green being the most comfortable, 4 in red being the least comfortable, and then black kind of indicating where we have gaps in the network, so where there's no sidewalk. And you can see it's not a very comfortable place to walk. And if you all are familiar with this area, you know that. Very narrow sidewalks, not a lot of space between the sidewalk and traffic. And so we don't really see a lot of improvement in the alternatives until we get to alternative 3. Again, being the more active transportation focused alternative. However, we're also looking at crossings. Very significant crossing right outside the school here is Hemlock, which is sort of on the top left, and then you have Aston Street, which is on the bottom right. Today, not a very great place to cross, especially considering kids are crossing to school at Aston. There are flashing beacons to alert drivers, but as we saw when we went out there at school dismissal, people don't always abide by those. And so right now, it's not a comfortable place to be walking across the street. So at a minimum, in the vehicle-focused alternative, we can make some improvements there. We're recommending signalizing Aston, signalizing Hemlock, making it safer to cross for one by having some control there, but also striping high visibility crosswalks, and then putting sort of a pedestrian refuge island across Hemlock Drive, as you can see there in gray. And then alternative two, pretty similar to alternative one. We do see improvement over future baseline, so future if we did nothing. And then the most significant improvement obviously is again, using sort of the capacity for vehicles, dedicating that to cyclists or pedestrians. You have a shorter crossing for one, but you can also see that there is a pedestrian refuge island here at Aston and here at Hemlock, as well as the one going across Hemlock. So much more comfortable for kids to be getting across the street to and from school, and then across Hemlock as well. Moving on to the bicycle assessment. Very similar to pedestrian level of comfort. We're looking at a metric that measures how stressful it is for cyclists to bike along a roadway. And so we're taking into consideration a number of factors. So when we looked at pedestrian level of comfort, we looked at how wide the sidewalk is, what's the speed limit on the adjacent road, the buffer. For cyclists, we're looking to see, okay, do they have a dedicated facility, or are they riding with mixed traffic? Are they riding with other vehicles in a vehicular lane? If they have a dedicated facility, is it